Welcome to Waves of Wisdom. This is a podcast. I'm going to share wisdom from professionals who have obtained years of experience and who are in their profession of giving back to the community and elevating the lives of others. In this very first episode of Waves of Wisdom, I have a good friend of mine and an author, trainer, speaker, who is also the current president of the India Professional Speakers Association, who is known as a guru of customer centricity, as he calls it. And I would like to welcome my good friend, Winair, to the show. Vinay, how are you doing?
Hello, yes. Thank you for having me on the show. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm doing great. How are you?
Wonderful. It's such an amazing feeling that we have met over last couple of years, and then we have come up to this stage. And when we decided to do this, actually, this is the second time we are recording this. And first time we recorded in Maldives, and second time we are recording it in India. And just one night before the PSAI conference, PSS 2024, are you excited for tomorrow's event?
Super excited. Super excited. This is an event that we look forward to and wait with bated breath for a year. And then as soon as this event gets over, we wait for the next one.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm also really looking forward to make connections and meet with good friends from this, and big contingent from Maldives is here as well. So it gives me a pleasure to be with you today as also being the president of Maldives Professional Speakers Association. Now let's get on to our topic. Vinay, even last time when we spoke, you spoke about how your career started and how you found the area or the niche which you have found now. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. So I'm a marketer.
Yep.
My entire career started with marketing, sales. And this is what I was into even before I took my plunge as an entrepreneur. So when I took up a marketing role at that point of time, the one thing that has been consistent all through these years has been that marketing or sales works when you make it about the customer.
Yep.
There is no marketing strategy that is successful without understanding and delivering high level of quality and consistency to your customer. So that is something that has been a part of my work, that's been a part of my mindset. More than work, it's been part of a mindset that, you're marketing something, you're selling something, think first about the customer, understand the customer, put yourself in the customer's shoes. But over these years, I didn't think of that as my niche. I'm someone who's started off with a niche in sales. I thought, okay, sales is my niche. But then I was not very content with that because somehow didn't feel right. Then I moved to marketing as my niche. Then I moved to public speaking as my niche. Then finally, when I worked with a coach and I worked with a mentor, that's when I realized that what is that one thing that connects all of these things is my focus on the customer's world.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment I realized that as my niche, life changed. Life literally changed. The kind of clarity, the kind of precision, the kind of focus that came into my work, that came into my outlook, the clarity with which I'm able to express that today, that is the day I realized that my niche is not sales, not marketing, not public speaking. It is customer centricity. It is delighting the customer. So that is the journey of finding my niche and then going a mile deep.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So at what point of your career you decided to pivot to this area? Like you are in customer service and marketing earlier, and then you decided to leave the corporate world and become an entrepreneur, as you mentioned just now. So at what point of your life or what point of your career you are at when you decided to do it?
Okay. So I left the corporate world in 2010. And then I became an entrepreneur. I became an independent marketing consultant. And I was taking up consulting assignments with organizations, with companies in different industries. And I was quite happy, frankly speaking. And other than that, since I'm very passionate about speaking, I also run a speaking academy in Chennai, which works with some of the leading schools and colleges in India. We have an entire curriculum on speaking for students there. So that's something which I started in 2012, and that's continuing even now. It's been a 13-year journey as a speaking mentor and a speaking coach. So, but when did my career pivot, if you ask me, was when I joined the Professional Speakers Association of India.
Yes.
That's when I realized the big world, the absolutely new world of professional speaking. And when I entered the world of professional speaking, the first question when I went to any event is, what do you speak on? So first I would tell everybody, I speak on sales. I speak on marketing. I'm a marketing consultant, so I speak on marketing. I'm a sales strategist. I'll speak on sales. Okay. I do training programs on sales. I'm a sales. My niche is sales. So then finally, it took me almost 2.5 years to identify my niche. I worked on my own for some time. It took me a long time. Then finally, when I worked with a mentor and I identified my niche, I started off working on my niche in end of 2021, 2022. That's when I started. Yes, just after the COVID. That's when I started zeroing in on my niche and focusing on it and building my brand and my career as a professional speaker who speaks on customer centricity and customer delight. That changed everything for me.
And very gracefully, you have conducted some training programs in Maldives as well for our community. And one of the things really touch, or what I really learned from one of these programs was you talk about a metrics or a formula for finding your niche. Can you elaborate a little bit on that for our audience?
Sure. So the context of that is that your speaking niche has to come from within.
Yes.
This is not something that you download from the internet or create with AI. No, your niche has to come from within. It has to be at the intersection of your experience, your expertise, your passion, and what the market will pay for, what the market needs. Your niche has to be at the intersection of these 4 things. If it is not at the intersection of these 4 things, then sooner than later, you will realize that there's a dissonance between you and your speaking niche. When that happens, it never allows you to achieve your full potential as a professional speaker. So I feel that as a professional speaker, the first step to build your brand, you want the world to know you. But what does the world know you as? A speaker? Just another good speaker? A great speaker? Not really. A great speaker on leadership, a great speaker on sales, a great speaker on mental health, a great speaker on sustainability, a great speaker on investing in your personal growth, a great speaker on customer centricity. You want the world to associate the niche with you, associate the niche with your brand. So that's how the journey. Now, what prompted me to work on that is because I took 2.5 years, but I do not want speakers who are starting out to take those 2.5 years. And if there's something that I can do to help them do that, that is something that gives me a lot of joy. So that's how the developing that program on identifying the niche and the entire journey happened.
Wonderful. I think that's in a nutshell. You explain how we have to concentrate on what we are good at, and then what the market is ready to pay for, and also what you are passionate about. This brings to me to a very interesting area currently which I'm exploring for the book which I'm writing at the moment. Is actually I mentioned to you before as well. It is about becoming unretirable.
Yes.
So passion is one of the elements which I'm bringing in, which I'm talking about is, and if you can find your passion and you stick with it, then you don't have to retire. So this is one aspect of the argument which I'm putting forward. How do you think somebody can find their passion?
Good question. The way I see it, to put it very broadly, what is something that can keep you awake at 3 a.m. in the night?
Wonderful.
And someone calls you at 3 a.m. in the night to get up and speak on it. You would not ask why, you will ask when.
All right.
That is something that you're very passionate about. One. Number two, when you're passionate about something, setbacks do not deter you. Otherwise, if you're doing something that you're not passionate about, setbacks will demotivate you. They'll pull you down. And there is no entrepreneur who does not face setbacks. And that is why I always say that passion is that fuel that keeps you going. Passion is very underrated because, we say that, okay, I'm very good at that. I'm very good at that is needed. Yes. But do you enjoy doing it at the same time? I may be good at 10 things. Do I enjoy doing those 10 things? Not really. I'm passionate about 3 things. And if I am out of those 3 things, I'm really good at 2. That's the sweet spot. So how do you find your passion? Passion is something that you always end up making time for. You never get tired of talking about it. You are always inspired to learn more about it, read more about it, talk about it for more. You're able to have conversations about it with people. It could be anything. It could be, say, for me, I'm very passionate about writing reviews on movies and sports games. I love doing that.
Wonderful.
But will people pay me for that? Not really. But I'm passionate about it. So passion has got nothing to do with any of the other things. Passion is something that you have that drive to get better at it. You get to have the drive to learn more about it. That's what separates a passion from a hobby. A hobby is something that you do when you have time. Passion is something that you make time for.
I think that is a wonderful formula for our listeners also. So passion is, as you mentioned, it's something we make time for.
Yeah.
So if you're passionate about something, you are saying that we can find time, and we will find.
We will find time.
That's the important thing, isn't it? So coming back to earlier what I mentioned about, I believe you are one of those people. When I ask, when are you going to retire? What will be your answer?
So hopefully never.
Wonderful. This is what I call you are an unretirable person, because now you have found that sweet spot where you don't need to retire. So this is what I'm writing about it. I'm talking about it these days. So what do you think are the elements, or what are the things you needed, or from your experience as well? What are those things you need, a person need? For example, if you take a person who is in their mid-career, who is now still thinking about it, whether to go into a different profession, or whether to retire, or doing his retirement planning, or something like this. You are at this point in your career at one point, I guess. So what are the things we need to look for? What are the steps we need to take to become unretirable?
Okay.
With your experience.
I'll say that my perspective is, if you do not want to retire, you have to build an ecosystem around your expertise and your passion.
All right.
An ecosystem, when I say an ecosystem, it is a set of products and services that you will be able to deliver forever. Mm-hmm. You can, now expertise and passion both are important. Without expertise, you will not be very successful. You got to keep learning. You got to keep building on your knowledge. You got to keep building on your skill set. You got to keep sharpening your axe. No doubt about that. Yeah. But passion is something that you are driven to do it. And if both of these things are coming together, you have a product ecosystem, which means that you have a coaching program, you have a professional speaking program, a keynotes, you have a career which is built around it. Then you can all you have to do is keep yourself fresh in the mind and fit in the body. If you're fresh in the mind and fit in the body, nobody can retire you. I have an example to quote here.
Yeah.
In the Professional Speakers 2023, we had a speaker, an unforgettable, mesmerizing speaker. His name is Lenny Ravitch.
Okay.
He flew all the way from Tel Aviv for the event. 89. He's 89. He can't stand for a long time on the stage. He sat on the stage for most of the keynote. I cannot tell you the energy that he brought into his keynote, the way he had the entire audience swaying with him, singing with him. Even today, this is the third year after that event.
Okay.
We are still talking about Lenny Ravitch. Nobody who's attended that can ever forget Lenny Ravitch. And he's able to do that at 89.
Wonderful. That is a beautiful example of what you mentioned of like fresh in the mind and fit in the body, right?
Yeah.
He might be not as fit as like a youngster, but still he is fit enough to deliver.
Fit enough to deliver.
Deliver his best.
Exactly.
So that is
fit enough to deliver.
Yeah. Wonderful. Vinay, just taking a step back, what do you think your formative years or your college years have actually, or what are the things you got involved or the connections you build, which has actually facilitated you to become who you are today?
I will say that a lot of it has to do with people. I've always believed in building bonds with people.
Yeah.
I always say that I'm bad at networking. I am not a networker. I've attended master classes. I could never get a hang of networking. For me, networking in a big event has never worked out. What works out for me is to build rapport and relationships with people one-on-one. Generally build bonds with people one-on-one. So if I go to an event of 100 people, I barely get to meet even 10 to 15 of them. But out of those 10 to 15 of them, I would have built really lasting, close friends, about 8 or 9 of them.
Wonderful.
I think that's something which has been with me forever, and that's something which has enriched me as a person, inspired me to do things. When you bond genuinely with people, when you bond with people without agenda, when you work together with people and help each other out, I think that's something that really propels you to opportunities that otherwise would not have existed. For me, in fact, I will say I don't have a sales team. I don't have a sales system at all. 100% of my business comes from referrals.
Wonderful. That's
100%.
That's, I think, the most safest way of
absolutely
having a customer base, right? Yeah. So one thing you mentioned really strikes me. You are not a networker, but you build rapport.
Yeah.
So I think this there are so many in the world. In a lot of developed countries also, we see people organize networking events and people attend this masterclass or networking dinners or high teas and different events like that. And you're right, people don't really build deep connections there. So I think it's all about building deep connections, right?
Yeah.
So what do you do to build these deep connections? It is just because it is just who you are that you tend to be so extravagant with the people, and then you go and talk to them, and or you have a strategy, or you have certain things which you do naturally, which comes naturally to you, or even in your mind, okay, with this person I need to do this, or I need to build rapport.
That's a very good question. In fact, it's actually making me think about it, because I don't think I've ever had a strategy, because frankly speaking, when I meet people now, by the way, there is nothing wrong with networking. Let me clarify. Networking works for a lot of people in a lot of contexts. Networking is pretty useful for a lot of people. It's just that it's never worked well for me, because somehow I have not been able to do that. What I do is that I build one-on-one connections with people. And now, if you ask me how I do that, I think it's about I think it's about taking that little bit of extra thought, putting that little bit of extra thought and effort for the other person. What brings two people together?
So basically, you're being more empathetic about the other person.
Empathy is one part of it. But the point, look at it this way. So if I get to know you, and if I come with a mindset that, okay, I'm meeting this gentleman, let me try, and if I'm getting to spend 5 minutes of time with him, and out of that 5 minutes, 4 minutes I will spend trying to offload as much of my knowledge, my profile, my one pager, the things that I do onto him. That is something which I feel then it's a transaction. Now, what happens in that conversation is I talk to you for 4 minutes about myself. What would you do? In the next 4 minutes, you will talk to me about myself, about yourself. It's a transaction. We're giving and taking. And then after that, you go your way, I go my way. Where is the bond? Where is the rapport? Where is that connection that we are building? No.
Yeah.
So somehow that has never resonated with me as a person. What I want, I am curious to know about people. Now, I know that I may talk to 10 people. Out of that, I may not share that vibe or resonate with all 10 of them, which is absolutely fine. I may resonate with 5 of them, which is totally okay. But with those people that I resonate with, I spend more time. I'm curious to know more about them. Yeah. I'm curious to know more about them. I want to understand them. And when we understand each other, we get along well with each other. We have fun. That's the whole point. When 2 people get along well with each other, I think that's when the connection happens. And
that's when the magic happens.
That's when the magic happens.
Of course. And it is, like you said, that when it becomes a beneficial relationship for both.
Yes, yes.
I mean, each other is willing to help. Yes. So I think, as you mentioned, it is very important to build these rapport and connections and deep connection with people so that they will help you in your journey, right?
Yeah.
So you can call them up anytime and ask for help. And then this is I think one of the most important things I'm taking away from this conversation. For our listeners who are wondering, again, for example, they want to they are at certain age of their life, maybe mid-40s or something like that, and they are thinking about retirement. Of course, now a lot of people are rethinking retirement, I would say, because retirement is not something which people pursue like they did in 100 years or 50 years back during the industrial age, and now with the information age and all these things are coming. I think one of the things you mentioned was like being open to learning and having a fresh mind. And like as somebody who talks on growth mindset a lot, I can resonate with that, the importance of the mindset. So how important is to keep in your mind fresh? And what are the things you do to ensure that you are at the forefront or cutting edge of all these technologies which are coming, and also the knowledge which you are generating through the things which you are learning, as well as the research and learning from other people. What are the things you do to keep yourself updated?
2 things. Number 1, I read a lot. Reading has been something with me from my childhood.
Yeah.
In fact, my father is the one who actually got me into reading. I mean, he would get me the memberships of all the libraries around, and I would read. And he also reads a lot. And that got me into reading as well. And we read a lot. So that's something that started off the reading, and I still read a lot. I consume a lot, and I read a lot of things across different genres. I read across industries, and I'm very so reading is one part of it. The second part of it is cross-pollination. Now,
what is cross-pollination?
Okay, I'll explain that. So I read about different industries, even industries that I don't even work in, that I don't even know related to. Mm-hmm. So I read a lot of that, and I cross-pollinate ideas and stories from one industry and take them in the context of another. So, for example, recently I was doing a workshop for a bank. Mm-hmm. Now, normally, the mindset or the trend is that when you're talking to bankers, you talk about banking examples, banking stories. But I brought in a story from hospitality. Okay. I brought in a story from steel. And I brought in situations that they were facing, where those particular situations, this group of bankers could relate to.
Okay.
So and now I'm able to do that because I read about all the other. So I cross-pollinate ideas and stories from different industries, different zones, and bring them into my niche, make it relevant to my niche. That keeps it fresh for my audience. So that's something that I love doing, because those stories relate to people. At the end of the day, whether it's agriculture, whether it's pharmaceuticals, or it is banking, it's people.
Yes.
And people everywhere. We are in the business of people to people, more than B2B, B2C, everything. We are people to people. So P2P, exactly. So it's people who are learning from us. So, and what attracts people? Stories. What attracts people? Metaphors, analogies, examples. These are the things that we should try to make them as fresh, as engaging as possible. So I bring these. So these are two things that helps me bring a fresh perspective to my niche or to my workshops and my programs that I do.
Yeah. Vinay, I think if we are not speaking about the speaking business, we've been presidents of two speakers association at this moment in time. It will not be fair for our audience. And yes, there's a lot of our friends speakers from the industry are also listening to this. What do you think speaking as a profession somebody can take up not to become retired, not to retire?
I think a professional speaker is literally unretirable.
Wonderful. Yeah, you gave one example of Larry.
I mean, yeah, because speaking is a profession where you can speak as long as your mind is fresh and your body is fit. And you are reinventing yourself. You can see speaking, as a business or as speaking as an industry is all about staying relevant. How do you stay relevant? Yeah. Your content, your stories, and your skills as a speaker have to be relevant to the times and have to be fresh. You can't keep churning out stale content to your audience. Yeah. Your audience looks forward to something new to learn from you. Are you reinventing yourself? Are you relearning? Are you repackaging it for your audience? If you are, then your audience will always want to listen to you, whether it's 5 years from now or 10 years from now or 20 years from now. And your audience will pay to listen to you. And that is what a professional speaker is all about. Getting paid to speak.
How often a speaker should reinvent or rebrand himself?
Reinvent is more important. Rebrand when you feel that your brand is not resonating with what you stand for.
Right.
Only then you rebrand yourself. Otherwise, you would not want to rebrand yourself. Reinvent every time when the market, when your industry evolves, you have to reinvent yourself. And today, frankly speaking, the pace of evolution in the industry, the pace of evolution is so fast that what used to take years earlier, now it's taking barely a year, a few months, and technology is changing a few days. Technology is changing, AI, a lot of things. And not just AI, I'm saying even beyond. People are finding newer ways to solve problems in every industry. And when people do that, then you get to see that as a speaker, if you are not evolving, if your audience knows something which you don't, I think that's not a great space for a speaker to be in.
Yeah. I think you mentioned it very truly. If we have to go with the wave, right? Wave of evolution.
You got to stay ahead of the wave. You can't go with the wave. We are speakers. We are thought leaders. We have to stay ahead of the wave.
Yeah, otherwise we would go. I guess. So the best metaphor will be from a surfer, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
So surfers so we have to.
You got to beat the wave.
Yeah, we have to be ahead of the wave.
You have to be ahead of the wave. Yes.
Surfers. Yes. So, for all my friend speakers who are listening to them, this is really gem out here from Vinay. Stay ahead of the wave and make sure that you are like a surfer who actually roll with the wave and you are ahead of the wave. So you takes that message that the wave is coming. So in this episode of Waves of Wisdom, when we are coming towards an end, Vinay, I just want to highlight you about highlight about a wisdom or a teaching or a philosophy, which something which you have gathered over the years, or you have heard from someone which has really resonated with you and helped you to prosper in your career?
I'd like to talk about my career as a speaker here. One thing that has always stayed close to my heart is that make it about your audience. It is not about you. It is about your audience.
Wonderful.
Do whatever it takes. You got to reinvent yourself. You got to make your content relevant. You got to bring out meaningful stories. Do whatever you have to do. But deliver so much value to your audience that your audience doesn't forget you, that your audience keeps seeking you, that the audience wants to listen again to you, and the audience starts referring and talking about you and recommending you. That is for me is the true victory. That for me is the true pinnacle of success for a keynote speaker, for a global keynote speaker. Be always adding value.
Wonderful. I think drawing from speaking profession, you have given a very good example, and this is something actually we can resonate with any other industry also. If you are in a business or you want to become unretirable and you want to have a continuous stream of income, then you have to make whatever profession you are in about your customer. Thank you very much for being with us today, Vinay, and hope to talk to you on another occasion.
Definitely looking forward to that. Thank you for having me on your show, Iyaz. It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
Yeah, it's an honor to start with this with you. And thank you.